Hello everyone, my name is Jen. Welcome to my channel. This is my little corner of the internet where I share the crafts that I usually get up to in my craft room. Usually things like cross stitch, crochet, sewing, and quilting. But today I want to do something different. I have been doing a lot of quilting recently and taking a lot of comfort from that. So I wanted to actually do a quilting whip parade. This took a long time to put together, so it's also going to be a longer video, so I don't know if you need to prepare yourself for that or give yourself breaks, but yeah, I've got quite a bit to share. So I have no completely finished quilts to show. I did recently finish one called Cabin Peaks, which I've already gifted, but if you are on Instagram, I did post a picture of it there, and I will put my Instagram handle down below if you want to go have a look. But yeah, so let's get started. Welcome if you're new, and if you're returning, welcome back. I know that there are a lot of multi-crafters out there, and a lot of people who do cross-stitch, do quilting, and crochet, and do quilting, so I think there will be like a few people will watch this, I think. So my most recent finish, so it's all pieced and quilted and I'm just sewing the binding on. And this is, I think it's really just a carpenter star pattern. This, I used the free pattern from Moda. It's called Moda Love, and they give you instructions for using the mini charms, the charm packs, and layer cakes. So I used a layer cake to make a big quilt. And this is the backing. And this fabric line is called Dark Romance, and I think it's Camelot Fabrics, but I'm not totally sure. But very pretty. I normally quilt all my quilts myself on my machine. This one just being a little bit bigger, and because I wanted to get it done sooner than later, and I have a lovely friend with a long arm, she volunteered to do the quilting for me, which I think was a really good idea because there's a lot of white space in this quilt, and I'm going to try to stand on a stool here and show you. And I think that the long arm quilting really was a good choice for that, for showcasing that. So, to try to stand here and not kill myself. So basically, yeah, it's just a big carpenter star. No idea what you're seeing. It did turn out quite nice. I'm quite happy with it. So most of the squares are different. I did use some yardage just to kind of balance it out. I'm not totally great with 100% scrappy. Not that it was scrappy because it's a coordinated layer cake. But there were some squares in here that I didn't love. So I just, I had ordered extra yardage of this because I thought I might do border, which I ended up not doing. So I just used the sage to kind of ground the corners. It's a really pretty layer cake. So we've got like big florals with white background and black background. So when I'm done the binding on this, I'm going to take a picture of the whole thing and I'll post it on my Instagram because it's difficult to show here, obviously. But yeah, I thought that turned out pretty well. So I have made several of these in the charm pack version, and this was my first layer cake one. So I might do a mini charm version and then I'm done. So next I'm going to show you some pieced tops. So they all still need to be quilted. I don't think, yeah, they don't need any borders. The only thing now is they just need to be quilted. So I recently did this one. So this pattern is called Cool Summer Porch. I was gifted an Etsy gift card for my birthday, so of course I picked fabric. I can't remember what the pattern line is called, but oh, it's so gorgeous. So anyway, I wanted to do mine like stained glass. So black with the like black, I don't know, sashing. So here, and I made it one block wider because I wanted a bit of a bigger quilt, and I wanted to use like the most of these gorgeous fabrics that I could. So we have that. So it's just lap sized. Oh, we're almost done. So it's just lap sized, but here, have a look at some of these. Like, so nice. And this one's for me. And often I shouldn't say I don't splurge on a backing. Well, I don't splurge on a backing. If I can get backing on sale, then I get it. This one, I did splurge. So I'm using this for the backing. And I can't wait. I think it's going to be so beautiful. And I'm going to quilt it with a variegated thread. So actually the variegated thread will get like totally lost in here, but it'll show up on the black, and I think that'll be really pretty. Yeah, so this was my birthday quilt for this year. So two others I completed this spring. This is, I think it's a free pattern from Fat Quarter Shop, and it's called Layer Cake Lollies. So this kind of an experiment. I don't know if this is gonna come back to haunt me or not. Okay, anyway, the pattern is called Layer Cake Lollies, I believe. And this is what it looks like. So I used these pretty blue fabrics. Now, here's the experiment part. So this is a layer cake that I purchased on Amazon. It is 100% cotton. It's like a mercerized cotton because it's kind of shiny. I mean, it's okay. And the white was a white cotton jelly roll I also bought off Amazon. So I knew when I was making this quilt that I wasn't going to want to keep it, but I needed something to do. So that's why I picked this whole project. I don't know how this is going to wash, so I'm kind of torn about backing. Like, I don't want to buy a really good quality piece of fabric. I know this sounds terrible for a quilter. Because I don't know if this is going to bleed. I have to somehow test this just to see how it all holds up in the wash. I mean, we can see. So I think I'm just going to back it in just probably a plain navy, which I will pre-wash. And we'll just see. Yeah, this was like a big experiment. Ordering fabric off Amazon isn't ideal. I've done it a couple times. Sometimes I've been pleasantly surprised, and other times it's like, and I just send it back. But yeah, we'll see. I love the blues though. It's very pretty and it was calming. The pattern turned out, you know, kind of neat. It didn't even use a whole layer cake. So you could make it bigger, of course. I just wanted to make the throw size. And then the other one I made this spring. So this is, I think it's called a disappearing nine patch, but the pattern I used, it was called Dress to the Nines, and it's from Missouri Star YouTube tutorial. So I had a bunch of charm packs called Wildwood, I think. Anyway, so I had the charm packs, and then I supplemented some white yardage. And this is what, and then I wasn't going to put this big border on it, but I had this fabric. I thought, you know what, it does finish it off. It kind of looks nice with it. So I can just see, this is just half of it. It's double this size. But you know, very scrappy looking, floral. Love that. And then that's the border fabric. You can actually buy this at Michael's. And it's a nice cotton. But yeah, there we have that one. So I think I'm just going to back this in a navy, and then what I have left I'll piece together and back the Layer Cake Lollies quilt. So this one will be the next one to be quilted. It's probably just going to be like a 2 to 3 inch crosshatch quilting, and then this one is going off to my mom. I was working on it when I was staying at her house, and she really liked it, so I said you can have it. And then the last top I have, I actually completed this last fall, and then once I was done, it was getting close to Christmas, and I didn't want to finish it off. So this is the Farmhouse Fall quilt from Erica Arndt, and I really liked her turquoise, or the aquas and the oranges and those colors, but I chose to use, I think I had a fat 1/8 bundle of fig tree fabric, so I used that. I didn't make it as big, I just did 1 row less. So we've got pumpkins, leaves, pumpkins, leaves, pumpkin, leaves, and pumpkin, leaves, pumpkins. So I think there might be another, I think there is another border on this one. It's just a white that goes on after here, or like a cream in my case. I don't know actually if I have enough cream, so I may not be using that. And then I also just picked up the backing for this yesterday. I was at one of my local quilt shops and I picked this up. So this was on clearance, so that was kind of a nice surprise, and I think it'll go really well with that. It's the same oranges. I don't think this is fig tree fabric, but you know, it goes well enough. So yeah, those are all my tops waiting to be quilted. I don't like to get too many tops ahead of myself because the quilting is not my favorite part. So we don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Okay, I had to make a huge list because I have so many projects here. So, okay, that's all of my tops. So now here are my works in progress. So these are the ones that I'm actually starting to sew together. And this one, so I have all of these Dresdens. So this was from a jelly roll that I purchased off Amazon that I was actually pleasantly surprised of. And this was called the Cottage Core one. It was a little bit more expensive than the blue one that I bought, but you can tell, and the fabric is nice. So what I'd always wanted to make a Dresden quilt. So I purchased a ruler, again off of Amazon, and then figured out what size that it would make with the 2.5-inch wide strips, and much to my dismay, it was a whole bunch of little tiny ones. But I ended up with, I think, 16 blocks, and they're all just these pretty, you know, pretty kind of almost 1980s looking prints and colors, and I just threw them all in a basket, and when I was sewing them together I would just pull out, and as long as it wasn't exactly the same or the same color next to each other, I just sewed them together. But the weird thing is, most of the Dresdens that I've been looking at are 20 like blades around, and mine are only 19. But yet mine still, I think I did 20 and it wibbled, or it was wavy. But when I did the 19, they would lay flat. So I don't know. It's okay because I'm just leaving them whole, but if I wanted to do like the half Dresdens or quarter Dresdens, I really couldn't. So I haven't fully decided on how I'm going to put this together. I will put the Dresdens on this cream, so it'll be like that. I'm not sure about the centers yet, and I might, if I can order another one of these jelly rolls, I may actually do like an Irish chain, like blocks between the Dresdens, and that'll also make the quilt larger. Yeah, because I couldn't decide on sashing or anything. And then this morning I found this fabric in my stash downstairs, and I thought this would make a really nice backing on it. And it's got, again, that little ditzy floral print, which is very kind of 1980s looking. Yeah, so what do you think of that? I thought that'd be kind of pretty. But this kind of has no deadline to it because well, actually none of them do. Just because I'm not sure about all the finishing stuff and if I can get another jelly roll or not. So that's WIP number 1. Then I have, I think this is my oldest. This is my oldest, and this will be a wall hanging. So this is a wool applique and quilting. This is the pattern, but I've modified it. I've shortened it. I'm only doing 9 blocks. I can do 9 blocks, and I can still do the pieced spool border, and it'll be fine. So I think I have 3 blocks done. And I really need to get this done. It's just, this has been hanging around way too long. So I've got, so there's a block. And yeah, so this is all wool applique. And then afterwards I'll do quilting around on the white cotton. So we've got that block. And the scissor block. This block. Okay, so those are 3 fully finished. And I've got like 6 other blocks. Hold on. No, 3 other blocks. They were just in my project bag. So this is what it's going to look like when it's finished. I just shortened it down to that size. So these blocks are mostly finished, but I still have to do some embroidery on them. So the sewing machine, so I have to do embroidery for the thread. I've done that. And no, I guess I just have 2. And this one. So again, I just have a little bit of embroidery to do on this one. So I think what's stopping me the most for this is the letter blocks. So when I started this, I had purchased an aqua piece of wool, and I don't like the color. It doesn't coordinate with the other aquas in the quilt. It's just kind of like a dirty color. I've already cut it out. So I think what I'll do is I'll actually just find just a cotton fabric, a cotton aqua fabric, which won't be a problem in my stash. I'll do the letters out of that and stitch them on. And I'm actually also going to clean up the blocks a little bit because I find them very busy. I'll probably leave out, there's a duck on here, I'll probably leave that out. A lot of this stuff on the side I'll probably leave out. So I used fusible on this, and the thing is now it's been so long that the fusible is like unsticking. So yeah, it's just kind of like, it's not fun to work on, but I do really want it finished because I want to hang it up over here. I'll just turn you for a second. So just over here is my sewing machine, is like underneath there, and I like to hang something up there. So that's something I just finished in February, and that is from Corey Yoder. But I switched these quilts out, so this is where the buttermilk basin quilt will reside when it's done. Thimble Blossoms, maybe it's called. Okay, next up is my swoon quilt. So, no, this is Thimble Blossoms. Camille Rose Kelly. So this is swoon 16. I was going to do swoon 20 because I have a king size bed. I'm using Lori Holt fabrics. I just wanted it to be nice and bright and sweet and cute. This is the backing fabric that I have. I'm not sure actually now that I'm going to have enough because I did cut a piece out of it for a bag. But yeah, it's all of these colors. And oh, I really should have made myself a table. This will be the sashing. This nice aqua color. So that'll be the sashing, and then these are the blocks that I have completed. So this is definitely not a project to work on when you're like chit-chatting to anybody, because I've made so many mistakes, which is also probably why I've not continued with this. So here's a block. So you use the same fabrics for like over 3 blocks. This one. Got this one. These are my favorite. The greens and the blues. In fact, if I could have my whole quilt like this, I'd probably prefer it. Because I'm finding the pinks and the yellows just to be a little bit too sugary for my taste. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that. I guess I'll just finish the quilt and see how I like it. Because, you know, sometimes when you're working on it, you don't like it. But then when it's all put together and it's lovely and beautiful, you know, then you're happy with it. So yeah, we'll just have to see. If I really know that I don't like it, I'll just go back to the 16 blocks and not the 20. Because the thing, like I said, I was making it for my king size bed, but I also just recently got a rather spectacular quilt that my grandmother made that is all of the colors that I like, and I have that on my bed currently, so I don't need a really big quilt anymore, but we'll see. So I'm hoping this summer to actually finish these, but if I can just, you know, have some dedicated sit-down sewing time, because like I said, this is not something that I can do when I'm like on my quilt days with my friend, because I'm always making mistakes and using the wrong blocks, and have had to like restitch blocks together, restitch pieces within the blocks together, which is not fun. And next I have, so this is another Thimble Blossoms quilt called Edelweiss. And that's what that will look like. So mine will look pretty similar. I've got the navy pin dot backing. I'm going to use this as my border fabric, but I'm going to make the side borders wider than the top and the bottom, just so it will drape over my bed a little bit better. So I started this a couple weeks ago, and I got all of the leaf blocks done and some of the flower blocks. So what I discovered on this one is you definitely need to do that scant 1/4 inch seam, because if I use my 1/4 inch foot and I do, you know, for sure 1/4 of an inch, it throws the block size off like terribly. There's a million pieces in this quilt, but it looks really good. So it was these blocks that I had the trouble with, the seams, the scant 1/4 inch and the 1/4 inch, because when there's so many seams on these sides that some of them ended up being 1/2 inch shorter than they should have been. So when I was putting these pieces on, I was really having to stretch. And I was really worried that it wasn't going to work out. But I managed to get all the blocks to be the right size. And they're all the same. So yeah, so these are done, and then I just have to do the flower ones. And I think there are, I don't know, 15 maybe of the flower blocks. And I think for backing, I'm going to use this. I found this just after Christmas at one of my local quilt shops, and it's so pretty. And then I could actually have a reversible quilt if I wanted to. And yeah, so those are all the ones that like I'm kind of actively working on. I guess like I've started sewing them together. So now I've got a lot of kitted projects. Some of them have patterns like that I know for sure are, and some of them I have just set the fabric aside because I know that I want to get started on them this year, early next year. Yeah. So yeah, some and oh, sorry. So these are kitted with patterns. Some of them are I've started doing the cutting, and some of them I haven't. So okay. So last summer I went through all of my fabric. I picked out all of my florals, big scale, small scale. Florals are my favorite, but I was getting too much. So I went through all of my florals. I cut everything into 5-inch squares. Whatever was left over that was smaller than a 5-inch square went into the scrap box and went off to my friend who loves to do scrap quilting. So I ended up with 439 floral squares. My original plan was to just sew them together as 5-inch squares. I just wanted something that was like heavy on the floral and scrappy and lovely because I adore flowers. Oh, and anything I could cut into a 2.5-inch strip, I did because I'm just going to do scrappy binding. So then I separated the squares kind of into lights and yeah, lights. Or did I do it by background? Maybe, yeah, so by, yeah, like a lighter background and then a background that wasn't a cream, you know, that was like a color. And then I think these were just more medium tones. But anyway, just so I can pick from these as I'm sewing it together. So the original intention was just to sew the 5-inch strips together. But now I'm thinking I might want to just do half square triangles and do just a broken dishes, which will just be even more florally and wonderful. It's just that then the thought of sewing these into half square triangles that I'm not so sure about, but we'll see. But anyway, it's all here. It's waiting for me. I don't need a pattern. And it should make a pretty decent sized quilt. So I did one last year that was just 5-inch squares. I think it was about the same number, maybe a little bit less, and that was a good double size, I think, maybe even a queen size. And then I've got these. So this could be a border, and this would be the backing. And then I will be like, I'm drowning in flowers, and that's perfect. This next one is another wall hanging. So I've really just started cutting out the blocks for this. I have a bunch of Lori Hope fabrics, and that's what I'm using. If I can match it up to what was originally called for, I will. But yeah, there's a lot of pieces in this. So I originally thought, oh, I'll just cut up all the blocks first. I've got them in little Ziploc bags in here. You know, like that. But the thing is, I think that's going to be super overwhelming. So I think I should start sewing together what I have into blocks. And then I can either cut up a bunch more blocks or I can just go like one at a time. Because it is there's a lot here. And yeah, like I said, I'm just using Lori Holt fabrics. I have just like an assortment here. And yeah, just kind of picking my favorite colors and just doing that. So I think I started this maybe 2 years ago, and then probably just got overwhelmed, as I do. So another one that I've got fabric for, in the pattern for, this is Vintage Rose by Margot Langdock. So I think this was, so she is the designer behind the pattern basket. This is a pretty old pattern. I just picked it up off the free table at my quilt guild. So I actually bought the fabric first, not knowing what quilt I wanted to make, I think. Anyway, so I have the fabric and it's perfect. So this is going to be the back. Wait, there. I think it's Tea and Poetry, and it's also by, is it Camelot or Wyndham Fabrics? Camelot. So it's called Tea and Poetry. So I got this for the back. I knew I wanted to make a quilt with this as the backing, but then I had to decide which quilt I was going to make. So then I've got, I think this will be the borders and the cornerstones. And then I have just a plain white for the background. And I thought there's enough of a contrast there. It's kind of hard to see in the light here. But there's enough of a contrast there that should be, you know, quite pretty. And then the 9 patch blocks will just be an assortment of other coordinating prints in the line, and I can always just look through my own stash too if I need to. I don't know that I'll use this one, but I thought it was super cute. So I already have a recipient in mind for this one. And here we have something, this is called Crows in the Corn. And I made a quilt last year. I had a fat quarter bundle of a fabric line. I think it's called Slow Stroll. I have quite a bit left over, and I thought it would lend itself to this quite well. So it's a little bit more subdued, like it's like more burnt oranges and plums and darker greens. I have a black solid and a black batik for the crows. But these are the prints. So I thought that might look okay. Yeah, things like this. So it'll be a little bit more like rustic colors, not so bright. Which I like too. I like the bright colors, but I just thought this would be a good way to use up some more of these. I think I had never bought a fat quarter bundle before, and then I did make a quilt with it, and I had so much left over. So yeah, I would like to make some more use out of these because the pieces are quite large. Next up, I have 2 wall hangings that I would like to get done. So the first one is, it was the mystery quilt along from Fat Quarter Shop. I think it's called Up on the Rooftop or Up on the Housetop. So I've cut most, I shouldn't say most, I've started cutting this one. And instead of the black background, I found this fabric. I think it looks like night sky. So I was quite happy with that. So, I mean, this is as far as I've got with the cutting up, just a lot of background. I do have the fabrics for the rest of it. I bought it, I bought the fabric for the deer, and then the sleigh and the presents I'm just going to use from my stash. I won't buy any more for that. And I likely won't work on this again until probably November. I just like to sew on seasonal quilts in season, really. I don't know, I'm more in the mood to do it then. So the other one I want to make, and this is again a seasonal one, Spectral Designs. I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to assemble the project like it tells you to the instructions, which I really don't understand. What I am going to do although this does end up wasting kind of a bit of fabric, is I will cut all the pieces out and then fuse them onto one large piece of black fabric and then do my quilting. So I did a small wall hanging a couple years ago, and that's how you did that. So you don't need to do any funny stuff, or you don't need to use any bias binding for that. So I have picked my fabrics. It's a lot of batiks. I am changing it a bit. This is another pattern I picked up off of the free table at my guild. Somebody there obviously likes these because I've picked up like 4 or 5 by this company. But anyway, I thought that this would be really pretty with red candles and either white and cream or pink poinsettias. So I've got my fabrics, and what I would like to do for the background is I wanted it to look like a stained glass window at nighttime. So I have this lovely batik, which is greens and blues. And then for the accent, which you can see is the burgundy, I would do just the stark blue. So I think there's enough contrast there that it should look okay. And then these would be, I've got these for the candles, and then the leaves, and more for the candles. And then the poinsettias, I'll probably use these cream batiks, and then I'll put in some white tone on tone prints. I think that should be okay. And then if the white doesn't work out, I'll try pink. But I really, really just wanted red candles for this one. Okay, what do we have next? Put my book down. There we go. So this one, I decided just before Christmas I wanted to make this. Bought all the stuff because the intention was to have a no-buy year, which lasted about 4 months before it died a spectacular death. So this is Bloom and Buzz from Lella Boutique, and I purchased this off her website. I got pretty much the identical fabrics. The background is not the called for, but it's, so that's the background. And out of the fabrics I made this cute little block. This is from Lori Holt. I just wanted to see what it looked like stitched up. So I'll probably make a project bag for my cross stitch out of this one. But I've started cutting, so I've got all the beehives cut, and I've got all the flower pieces cut, and then I think this is going to be the binding. And that's the border. But yeah, so these are what the fabrics look like. So I shopped from, I don't know, 4 or 5 different places just to get the fabrics that I needed for this. Very sweet though. Love those. Now, ideally, I would like to do that this summer, but as you can see, I've already put a whole bunch of things together for this summer. We'll see if it happens or not. This is another Lori Holt quilt. I saw this. Apparently I'm in my goose era again. I saw this before Christmas. I managed to track a pattern, a store down that would send it to me with just like letter mail shipping. So I think there are 9 blocks. Now they're all the same save for this. I didn't want to buy all 9 patterns because if I bought all 9 patterns, it would have been over $100 just for the patterns. So because all the blocks are pretty much the same, I thought I'm just going to buy 1 pattern. I want to see how big this block is. If this is a funny size block, then what I'll do is I will just make the same pattern here, but I'll just use different fabrics every time. And then use different fabric for, you know, the bow tie as well. And I think for the wings. I got a, what did I get? I got a layer cake, the Gentler Times layer cake. So this is what I'll use for the quilt blocks and the, oh, there we go. So that'll be used for the blocks and the accents on the geese. And I didn't want to do, actually I'm not sure I want to do a gray background, because this one has like a dark gray. I'm not sure I want to do dark gray. So I did find this light blue, like denim dot, but I also did buy some gray just to see, because actually I don't know if I have enough of this denim dot to do it. And then for the geese, I just have an assortment of low volume whites, so I can use these and then some solid whites, and I think that'll be, you know, quite pretty. So anyway, I ordered this, and when I got the pattern, this actually is a 8.5 inch block unfinished, so I can totally make, just go to my quilt books and I can make a whole variety of blocks now that I know what size they are, and put them in there instead. So this one is mostly kitted, but it has no kind of start date yet. We'll see. I mean, it's kind of a summery thing. It really just depends on when I get things cut up. Sometimes I just like to cut out quilts because, like, if I'm tired or if I'm burned out from something, if I just cut up the quilts, it's nice and, you know, it's a nice meditative process. And then I'll put it away, and then when I'm ready to get to work, then I've got everything cut up and ready to go. So this next one is some Tilda fabrics. Now, it's probably just going to be a 9 patch. Because several years ago, I found all these lovely Tilda fabrics, these lovely browns, you know, the pecan browns with the denim blues, and, you know, I just really like them. And then, you know, I've, you know, finally learned with fabrics that when you see something you like, you better get it, because you might not get it later on. And then the denim here. So I thought I would just maybe make a simple 9 patch, just a nice autumn throw with those. And then I also have, so I have made a quilt like this before, so I'd like to do another one. And I think I'm just going to try to do 3 colors on this one. So I have this beautiful Morris fabric, and actually I had bought this to have the back as this, had bought this to have as the backing for the last quilt that I made of that pattern, but it didn't really go. So I thought I would save it, and I thought this bottle green was so beautiful with it. And then this gold. So I'd like to see if I can make the quilt with just these 3 fabrics. So these ones here, that will be the Morris fabrics, and then the star points will be the bottle green. This triangle I think would be the gold. I'm not sure. I have to play with it a little bit. I think if I need to get more of these fabrics, I can, like the Morris stuff, I think I can. And if I can't get exactly the same thing, I could get a similar, you know, something similar in the Morris line. There's a quilt shop near me that she sells most of the Morris fabrics. Okay, then I have a Christmas one. So seasonal patchwork. So I had, I think, a 1/8 bundle of this fabric line, And I have since picked up some yardage from the same line to use as backing or borders, or just to supplement the fat eighths. They're all very bright and cheery. And again, that's fig tree. And yet I'm still supplementing things in there. Yeah, like that's not fig tree, but I thought it's the same red tone that's in there. So that should work. Almost done. So I think so those are all of my kitted ones. Yeah, those are all my kitted. So I have some patterns that I for sure want to make this year. And in fact, these will probably bump out or bump aside some of the other things that I've just shown you. So I just picked this up. I really want to make this. I did cats in pajamas last year. I was definitely a challenge. I think this one is going to be more of a challenge, but I'm really wanting to try this. So I'd like to also get a fabric similar to the one on the up on the rooftop that looks more like a night sky. But oh my gosh, that's so cute. So I'm just going to do the throw size. There is a full size if you want to make that, but I'm just going to do this one. And then I found another pattern. So this is called Stomping Ground from Wendy Shepherd. So I really like this colorway that she has in there. And I thought it would be fun if all my blue elephants were just, I would use my blue floral fabrics. So I want to do it similar to this, and I've already started collecting some grays for the elephants. So I've got these to use for the elephants, and I could probably use this one for the helmets in Cats in Space as well. And then, like I said, for the elephant bodies, for the blue elephants, I'm just going to pull fabrics from my stash. And then, yeah, just on white. And lastly, I don't have a pattern for this. I saw this fabric and I thought it was super cute. So again, I think this is a Camelot or Wyndham line. It might just be called Vineyard. So I got a layer cake, and it's got like lots of fun prints on it, leaves and vines and grapes and bottle labels. So I purchased that, and I'll use that as border fabric, like once I decide on what I want to do. But I also got this panel because I thought I could almost even make this like a reversible quilt. So here's the panel. And then I can use that same border fabric. So I just thought that was kind of fun. And I will, yeah, stick that in my basement. But I need to find a pattern first. And this will be, I don't know, it'll be something easy that I can just bang together. And that's it. So thank you for sticking around. Thank you for sticking around and watching my quilt parade. As you can see, I have lots to do, but that's kind of the way that we like to do it, isn't it? So thanks for joining me today, and I'm probably going to do a regular floss tube video next week. I just have a bit of sewing and cross stitch and a little bit of crochet to show off. But until then, thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll talk again. Happy days, friends.